Welcome back to On a Journey with Giselle. I am your host, Giselle, and I'm so excited that you tap back in and you joined the show. Thank you so much. Today, we are going to continue our series of the love languages. But before we do that, I want to make sure that if you are new to the show, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. If you were returning, thank you for continuing this journey. We are all on this together. So here on the show, we are all working to become our best self. So here on this episode today, we are diving in to continue our conversation on love, the love languages. Today, we are going to be focusing on the interplay between trauma and love languages. So before we get in the show, I do want to say that this is a sensitive topic. This is a sensitive topic to those who have been through trauma or who have not been through trauma. I do want to express this is an episode to provide support and insight to those to help become their best self in their love languages and relationships. So let's get into the show because we have a lot to dive into as we discuss trauma and love languages. If you have not yet gotten to check out our episodes on what the love language is, founded by Gary Chapman, go ahead. The link will be in the bio, and I want you to check that out and share that with somebody who might not know what the love languages are. I definitely found out recently in my life. So I wanted to share this with you all, and let's have a conversation about it. So let's get into the show. Okay. So like I said, if you need a moment, pause. I understand. It could be a lot. Take some breaths. Trauma, it's a healing journey. You have to heal from it. Pause, take a breath. I understand. As a trauma survivor, sometimes I can't do things and ingest a lot at a time because it is triggering. So I understand. So, as we get into the show, I first want to describe and define what trauma is. We talked about what the love languages were and the 5 different love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, receiving gifts, and acts of service. So, now what is trauma? Trauma is an emotional response to distressing event and causes significant fear, confusion, and distortion. Examples of major traumatic events are abuse, assault, natural disasters, war, witnessing violence, witnessing death, among others. So those are some examples of trauma. Trauma can affect people. It doesn't affect everybody the same. It affects everybody differently. The way one person handles their trauma they experience is completely different than the way somebody else handles it. So I do want to say that that's something to consider when we talk about the love languages. Everybody handles trauma differently. According to licensed psychologist and instructor of the medical psychology at Columbia Irving Medical Center, Jenny Hennessy describes that trauma can change how we act and how we see the world. I want to say that again. Trauma can change how we act and how we see the world. It affects our relationships by changing how we relate. So trauma does a few things now. I want to bring that back up. It affects how we see the world, and it affects how we view and relate in our relationships. And what are we talking about? Love. So as we define what trauma is, and we got an understanding that it affects our relationships, I want you to be able to recognize how trauma could be relevant in relationships and how you can identify. So I want to list and give y'all some common signs and symptoms. So have you ever noticed that, some people thrive in arguing or thrive in dysfunction or chaos and not really, calm relationships? They love drama. Have you ever seen that? Well, you might be dealing with somebody that might have experienced trauma in some form of another, and they're used to conditioned chaos. And that can be troubling for a relationship because it becomes dismissive and distrusting. That's how they view friendships and relationships. They don't believe in calm. They try to, but because they're so their fear is heightened, because they have to stay on guard. Because when you have gone through trauma, you are in some survival mode at all times, whether it's a natural disaster or it is an assault. You want to survive. So sometimes there are people that live in certain environments that experience ongoing trauma, and they are conditioned to chaos. So the next sign and symptom is a mindset. It's a thinking, dichotomous thinking. So that's defined as all of nothing thinking. It can be linked to adverse experiences in childhood, including traumatic events that may have played a role in developing these kind of cognitive distortions. Categorizing people, situations, and absolutes can begin as self-perspective and part of learned conditioning. So it's a learned behavior, childhood events, traumatic events, ongoing patterns that they see. It plays a role in how they see people. You're constantly giving them they're constantly getting compliments, words of affirmation, but then they're getting molested, right? I wanted to say that because when you say words of affirmation and somebody might identify with that as their love language, and you want to give that to others, and you don't know that that might be triggering to that person that has dealt with trauma in their life. Next is relational sabotage. This is a pattern that is common. If a relationship is healthy or shows promise, as vulnerabilities can tap into feelings of unworthiness, fear of rejection, and engulfment. Relational sabotage. When you are gift giving, when you are physical touch, when you are spending quality time, that's good. Somebody that has been feeling or felt or has dealt with trauma, their trust is high, like their fear and safety, they're in survival mode. They're like, I can't trust this. I can't do this. So relational sabotage is what they might revert to cope with the love that might be trying to be provided. Open communication and empathy for people that have dealt with trauma in relationships is highly suggested. Learning your patterns, learning your love language is important because you never know what somebody has gone through. If you're in a relationship and you know that your partner has gone through trauma, as y'all are, getting to know each other, or even if it's a work relationship or it's a professional or a friendship, if you find that maybe your friends are distancing themselves after, y'all have had a good time, you have to realize, like, you're always getting to know somebody. You never truly know somebody. So when we talk about the love languages, especially in relationships, it's important that you pay attention to signs and symptoms. And if you identify any of these, talk to your partner, talk to your friend, talk to that coworker in a respectful manner with empathy and communication. And, pay attention to when they start to get fearful. Because the fact of the matter is, and I want to highlight this, I didn't at the beginning, but I want to say it now. For those that have experienced trauma of major or minor, if it was a stress in your life, regardless of it was a disruption in your body. It was a disruption in your bodily functioning, how you see the world. You go into fight and flight mode. You go into fear, right? So with these love languages, without safety and trust, these love languages don't matter. A person that has dealt with trauma has to feel safe. They have to feel trust. If they don't feel this, then these 5 love languages are triggers. They are triggers, okay? And I wanted to say this because if average, we talked about the signs and the symptoms. If you've identified these, how can you navigate these challenges and support this healing journey in your relationships with the person that has dealt with trauma? Because the fact of the matter is, we're all human. We've all gone through something. have empathy, have compassion, right? So some tips to help, navigate through these patterns and support through trauma is being a good listener. When you say these words of affirmation, do you really mean it? When you're telling me I look good, or when you're telling me I'm beautiful, is that what you really mean? And listen to why, ask questions. When I say this to you, why do you feel like I want something? Or when I give, why do you feel like I want something? Be a good listener. Manage your expectations. Understand that your partner may not be able to communicate their feelings at that time clearly when they've been triggered. Be patient and give them space when they need it. If that physical touch was a little too much, if the excessiveness in words of an affirmation was too much, if the quality time made them want to be closed off, understand that. Manage your expectations. Learn their triggers. That's a good way to learn their triggers. Offer practical support. So offer practical support. Giselle, what does that look like? How can I offer practical support to, this person that I want to express my love languages to when they've been through trauma? That means help with daily tasks. Tasks that, they might seem like they're struggling through, like cooking, cleaning, running errands, helping with an assignment at work. This can help alleviate some stress that the person that you want to express these love languages may be feeling, your partner may be feeling. You do people that have dealt with and are healing from trauma, they are in a high stress mode all the time to feel safe and to survive. Okay, so alleviating stress can really help you navigate and support healing through, trying to love somebody that has not trying, but loving somebody that has dealt with trauma. Okay. And lastly, it's just respecting, RESPECT. You know what it means to me. Respecting their privacy and their boundaries. We talked about the boundaries already, right? If you haven't checked out that episode with myself and Edward Chappelle, we talked about boundaries and the importance of being intentional in those. We have to also respect others' boundaries as well, and privacy. If your partner doesn't want to talk about their trauma and they don't want to be touched, if your coworker doesn't like giving high fives and they don't want to talk about why, the excessive gift giving or, quality time that you want to spend at lunch, why they don't like that, respect it. Respect their boundaries, give them space, and move in when it's okay. If you're this person, specifically in relationships, when you're in an intimate relationship, if you're a person that is supporting somebody that is dealing with trauma, a tip for you as well is to get support. That might look in the form of therapy or a support group. Get support. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Don't talk down on your partner. We don't want to do that. Don't talk down on your coworker. We don't want to do that, right? But we want to get support because in the end, you want to learn how to express this love language, right? Or help this person learn how to express and accept love languages, right? So those are some tips that I wanted to give you all that, really help navigate support and healing for a person that has dealt with or is dealing with trauma and wants to, really love and express and receive their love languages. So, we can't really do this show. I really wanted to do this because this hits home with me. I am a trauma survivor. When I look at words of affirmation, when I look at gift giving, when I look at quality time, and even though it's one of my favorites, when I look at physical touch, it hits home with me. I've gone through healing myself. I am a trauma survivor, and I feel comfortable sharing this with you all because, I really haven't shared my story, but I do want to get out here and, put it out here because, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only person that's gone through trauma and that's gone through healing. I'm in a healing process right now. And have been, and I've been in therapy. I've relied heavily on my community and, God to help me to heal through things that I went through in my childhood. I lost my mother when I was 1 year old. When I was 7 years old, I was molested. When I went to college. I, experienced some sexual abuse that I didn't appreciate. I've had some time and I've had some trauma. I've had my apartment shot into. I've gotten in wrecks because of coping mechanisms that weren't healthy to deal with those trauma events. So I've had my fair share of trauma. I've been in situations of abuse. So I don't say this as, oh, feel bad for me, but I say this as somebody that has learned how to cope in a healthy manner, that, once was negatively coping, that shut people off. I was so mean. I was so angry. I was very angry. People would give to me in high school, would give me gifts, and I would shut them out. Like, be nice. Like, I couldn't even date. It was hard for me. I was angry. I didn't trust anybody. I would, if when we go to conditioned chaos, when we go to relational sabotage, that was I. You were being nice to me for what? I was miss Miss Independent. Like, why are you doing for me? Receiving gifts? What is that? What do you want from me? Physical touch, trigger, 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 right? But because I'm learning, and I'm learning still how to heal from that, I have become happier. The same people that, saw potential in me, and I was mean to them when I was in high school. And there's some of the same people that, never left me and continue to see my potential. And I say high school because it really hits home with me, because to come back, and to still be here, 12 years after I've gotten high school, and specifically an individual said to me, "You're happy." And I know I was mean. I know I was hurt. And that person just saw my potential. That's healing. That's healing right there. And for those that might be going through trauma, and you struggle with loving others and it's hard, I get that. Why trust people? What do they want from me? I'm just going to end back where I'm at anyways. They're going to leave me. They're going to hurt me. They want something from me. Why are you manipulating me? Like, I get that. Oh, I get that. But you just got to let it go. You got to let it go. And some practices that I've used to help me is breath meditation. Breath meditation, writing in my journal. I wrote last night. I was hurt. I was recently rejected. We'll talk about that later. But I wanted to go and practice my negative coping skills because I was hurt. But I felt those feelings, and I felt them in my body. Like, I'm sitting here, like, and I'm showing y'all, like, I'm sitting here just like, ooh, I want to do this so bad. Like, I did not like that happened. Like, but I just wrote, this is how I feel. This hurts. But at least there was honesty. At least I have clarity, right? So I wanted to share this part of my life with you all, because that was a journey of mine that I went through, and I'm still going through a healing journey. And it's important when you're dealing with somebody that has gone through trauma, and they're learning to love, and you are learning to express your love language, just to have self-compassion. Have self-compassion, because you never know what somebody's gone through. You never know what somebody's gone through. And even if you feel like they should have gotten over it, you can't tell somebody how to heal and how much time it should take for them to heal. You can only help them heal. Don't put all your energy into it and you go like astray, but like helping them heal looks like being a good listener, giving them time, respecting their boundaries. Be patient with them. Be patient as the person that is healing too, as well. Be patient that you still might make that mistake. You still might shut off, but be patient in accepting that, hey, okay, the way I did that, that person was really caring for me. Like, okay, like maybe I can be vulnerable and express it this way. Or let me write in my journal, when this person said this to me, like it made me feel good, but I was scared and I did this, right? So that way you can see it on paper. Be patient. And just understand that going through trauma and learning how to love is a gradual process. It's a process, but you'll get there. We're all on this journey, and you can love too, and you deserve to be loved. And those that might not have gone through major traumatic events, it's okay to love those that have. We all deserve love. We all deserve it. So I thank you all for just joining in as we talk about the impacts of trauma and love languages. We recognize trauma in relationships and how those look like relational sabotage and conditioned chaos and dichotomous thinking. We talked about navigating challenges and supporting others that are in this process through good listening, respecting boundaries, giving space. And I shared my personal testimony with you of how I've struggled to love and why, some of the reasons why. At the end of the day, we all deserve love. It's a gradual process. Have passion, have patience. And remember, it's only you in the moment that can define your destiny. As we are in this month of love, I want to encourage you to think of some people that you know that are hard to love, like those people that you struggle to love because of the ways they respond. And I want you to think about how you can try to put into practice the tips on why they struggle. Maybe express one of your love languages, and if you get a negative response, ask why. And if they don't care to share, be okay with that. If it's somebody that's gone through trauma, I am encouraging you to be open to love. If somebody wants to gift give you or give you a hug, see what that might feel like. But also write down and take time with yourself and breathe to express how you felt when you accepted that love language. This is the month of love, everyone, and I want you all to know that you are loved. You are loved. You are loved, and I love you. Until next time, peace, love, and happiness. I can't wait to see you all. Remember, like, share, turn on that notification so you can hear when we upload a new episode, and subscribe. I can't wait to see y'all. Peace, love, and happiness.